Hey everyone, you're listening to Nerd Boy's Comic Book Blog, and this is Comics Overhaul. I'm Marco.
And I'm Andrea.
And today we're talking about The Button. We're recapping and reviewing DC Rebirth's The Button.
I haven't read it though.
But I have. It takes place between Batman's issues 21, 22, and Flash 21 and 22. It's a 4-part crossover between Batman and Flash, and it further explains and investigates the mystery of The Button.
So explain to me what's going on.
Okay, so basically in Batman number 21, you start off with a hockey game, and the hockey game is playing on the TV in Arkham, or at least I assume it's Arkham, and you have Saturn Girl, who was introduced in DC Rebirth, or reintroduced, and she's saying, "Oh my god, he is going to die, this is the game, this is it." And we go forward to the Batcave, and you have Batman investigating the Watchman button, and he's reading all these signatures like radiation and everything. He's trying to track what's going on. Meanwhile, the hockey game is playing, and you have a fight that breaks out in the ice, and it kind of is going to parallel what happens later on in the story.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and then Batman lays down the Watchman button right next to Psycho Pirate's mask. And Psycho Pirate is this character from, well, he was in Infinite Crisis, no, not Infinite Crisis, he was in Crisis on Infinite Earths from the 80s, and he was the only character who really remembered that the DC Universe had changed, and he was left in Arkham Asylum. I have a fan theory myself that Psycho Pirate is now one of the 3 Jokers that they introduced in DC Rebirth number 1. But that might not come into play for a little bit longer.
Was he a crazy character?
He did turn crazy, yeah.
Oh.
Because he remembered the differences between the previous universe and the current universe.
Okay.
And he probably remembers the change from pre-New 52 to post-New 52. So then you have Batman calling the Flash, and he's like, hey, there's a reaction when the button was laid down to Psycho Pirate's mask, and there's a little crazy stuff going on, and Flash is like, just give me 1 minute, it's 60 seconds, I'll be there. I'm fighting some samurai robots, I'll be there in 60 seconds though. Batman sees a few flashes in the background, he's like, I know you're the Flash, but that was pretty fast. He's like, I'm not quite the Flash, I'm the reverse, actually.
Yeah,
And he punches him right in the face. It's Eobard Thawne, the same Flash from the Flashpoint universe. He's come back. And it's interesting because this Flash, or this reverse Flash, was killed by Thomas Wayne in the Flashpoint universe.
Yeah.
But he's returned. And he's trying to get his revenge for being murdered by Thomas Wayne and taking it out on Bruce Wayne. The sins of the father, all that stuff. So then for about a minute, it actually has a countdown in the corner. For a minute, he's getting pulverized by Reverse Flash, and it even turns into this like 9-panel breakdown, similar to Watchmen, because Watchmen is broken down to 9 panels each page.
I see that going on in every single one of these pages where it just shows like square by square rather than how when most of the normal comics, like you can see some of the things overlap each other.
Yeah, like modern comic layout.
Yeah, like the layout is different. This one is just like...
It's traditional.
It's 9 squares in 1 page.
Yeah, it's classic comic book layout.
Yeah, so is this the shadowing that you were talking about with the hockey game going on?
Yeah, the hockey game was foreshadowing this, and the fight's now breaking out. It's very similar, and in the hockey game it was like, we're going to overtime. And yeah, Flash doesn't really make it in time. Batman makes a pretty good fight. Yeah. He like sticks a batarang into Eobard Thawne's leg because like even though his body's vibrating, there has to be something that isn't vibrating so he can at least stand on the ground. And it's like your foot. And also, Eobard Thawne, while they're fighting, breaks up the Thomas Wayne letter that he got from the Flashpoint universe right in front of Bruce's face.
That's hella messed up.
That is like the one thing you have of your dad from the parallel universe gone.
Yeah.
But then we get some pretty sick fight scenes going on here.
Wait, did the counter just stop?
Yeah, the counter stopped, and we're now in overtime. Batman even says that, we're in overtime now. And then Eobard Thawne is like, pathetic. Picks up the Watchman button, is transported. He says, God, I saw God, and all this great stuff. And he's being vaporized right in front of our eyes. Kind of like how Flash was vaporized during Crisis on Infinite Earths, but a little bit different. And you see a lot of this blue energy coming off of him, maybe implying Dr. Manhattan is killing him right now at this moment. And then Barry Allen walks in, he runs in, and he's too late. He tried to save the guy in the hockey match from dying, but he was too late then, and now he's too late here again. So that was the end of Batman 21, and now we move on to Flash 21, the second part of the story.
Okay.
And we we open up with this Justice League Society character, or Justice Society character, and he's a really old character from the golden age of comics. And Justice Society was like a precursor to the Justice League. So a lot of this was kind of thrown out in New 52, like all the stuff before the Justice League. It was like, we're throwing out that continuity. But Rebirth is kind of taking everything back and being like, no, it's all happened, but all this time has been taken away by someone. And this character was reintroduced in Rebirth #1, and he's now living in an old folks home, and he's talking about Mr. Thunder, which I'm sure will be picked back up again, but that was all we get for now. And then you have Barry Allen investigating kind of this crime scene where you have Eobard Thawne's dead body. Bruce was beaten up, and he's kind of...
I like how you laid it all out, all the numbers and...
Yeah, it's a crime
tape.
scene. And
That's funny.
He's saying how, like, he is so experienced in forensic science that he kind of can already tell what's been going on without even... He just look around the crime scene, he sees all the evidence without really having to...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like how he tangled all the wire, the tape for the crime scene tape.
Oh, yeah.
He's just... It looks like this is how it went. Like, a tango, a dance.
Yeah, you can definitely tell he's, like,
Yeah.
super experienced in this forensics. And then you see the dead body of Eobard Thawne, and he's kind of relieved. It's a strange feeling for Barry. Like, this is the man who killed his mother, and now he's dead, so he has this wave of...
But isn't that the second time that he sees him die?
Kind of, yeah. Because he does kind of remember the Flashpoint universe, so he did get to see Eobard Thawne die. But now it's like another confirmation, like, this guy is not coming back.
I mean, he already came back, though.
Yeah, kind of.
I find it interesting that it's only half of it that's disappeared.
Yeah, it looks like most of his body's, like, degenerated, but the costume on one half is still on.
Yeah. I don't know if that's for art purposes or for story purposes.
Maybe both.
Okay.
But then, of course, you have Barry talking to Alfred. Alfred's like, well, you know, you gotta talk to Master Bruce.
For a second there, I thought Bruce was naked. I was
No,
like, whoa!
No, he's not naked. He's just without most of his costume on. And Bruce and Barry, they have kind of like this relationship. Not really. They have this thing that they can bond over because they both are masters of forensic science.
Uh-huh.
And Barry, when he's talking all this gibberish, this techno-babble, Bruce is really the only one who understands him.
Yeah.
So they can kind of bond over that. And then Bruce is going over Barry's analysis of the crime scene. He's like, you used your instruments, right? And he's like, yeah, well, you might want to double check with mine. And he's kind of out of it. Barry's not really thinking straight because this is the man that killed his mother, and he's now gone. It's kind of clouding his judgment right now. Mm-hmm. Bruce is calling him out on that. And then they talk about the button, which they found 3 or 4 months prior to this, a few months prior. Mm-hmm. And they're talking about how it's still a mystery to them. They've discovered it when Wally came back, and it's been one of those mysteries that's surrounded the reappearance and everything. They're trying to find out who took the time, the 10 years from their lives, why did they change all this stuff, and why did Eobard Thawne come back?
Wait, are you telling me that's not been the main point of Rebirth?
No, it's actually been in the background of Rebirth, but not really at the forefront. One of the only comics that actually has to deal with all this is like Titans and Superman. Those are the only 2 that have been dealing with Mr. Oz and the 10 missing years.
So everybody else has been just focused on other enemies or other situations, and
yeah, the other
and they
Rebirth
just put
stories,
the 10 years behind their mind or something.
Yeah, it's in the foreground, or it's in the background, and the foreground of Rebirth has kind of been like everyone's stories and like setting up how the New 52 is the old universe, but with time missing.
That's interesting.
It's kind of retconning
I'd be so
and reestablishing.
frustrated. I would like just be like, where is it? When are you gonna tell me? The 10 years, where are they?
Yeah, you're more focused on the mystery, and meanwhile I'm like, yeah, retcon the shit out of the New 52, please. And then Barry goes to the Watchtower, and he's going to this kind of storage room they have in the Watchtower. Mm-hmm. They have a bunch of old relics like Skeets from Booster Gold, who now is gone, apparently, from the New 52. He was erased from time, and a few other Justice Society stuff. You have a bunch of Easter eggs in this panel, and then you go forward to Barry finding the treadmill and talking about how he's always needed help to time travel, while Eobard Thawne could just go on his own. And then Batman comes, and he's like, I'm going with you. Like, I have to help you trace the energy signature of the button.
Yeah, right. He's trying to help him trace the energy. All he wants is a moment, a chance to see something.
Yeah, and we actually have Barry and Batman running through the Time Force, or the Speed Force.
Hey, I like the the old pictures of them.
Yeah, and it kind of, this is some of the missing years. They're actually looking at the formation of the Justice League from prior to the New 52, and they're looking at Crisis on Infinite Earths and a bunch of other events like Identity Crisis. And they're even talking about, like, this isn't how the League formed, this isn't how that happened, when did you die, Barry, like, what's going on here? And those are all events that have been taken from history and the continuity. Because in New 52, the League basically formed because Darkseid was attacking. Prior to that, it was because Starro was attacking. You had Martian Manhunter, Hal Jordan, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and it was like it was a cool little crossover at the time. And then the Cosmic Treadmill breaks down, and they end up in the Batcave. But it's not Bruce's Batcave, and they think it's very similar to his layout he had when he was first going out and being Batman and like investigating crime and trying to stop crime. But there's a gun that he never recovered, the gun that Joe Chill used that night his parents were murdered. And then you see Thomas Wayne, the Batman of the Flashpoint universe.
His dad's suit looks way better than his.
Yeah, his dad's suit
Not gonna lie, he looks hella badass.
Yeah, I think it's the guns and the pouches. It's very 90s, but super effective.
I mean, he looks like he doesn't need the cape. He could just take off the cape and kick ass when Bruce uses the cape to hide.
I mean, the cape is pretty awesome on both of them. And I like the spikes on Thomas.
Oh, I didn't see that. That's cool. I just like that he has, like, holsters for guns. He has a dang gun. Wow.
He has guns. Yeah, Thomas Wayne.
He's more brutal than his son.
Yeah, the whole thing about Bruce is he's never wanted to resort to guns to stop crime.
Because he's traumatized.
He's very traumatized. And then we go on to Batman number 22. And we pick up with basically a reintroduction, a refresher on the Flashpoint universe and how Bruce... See, this is where the universe kind of diverges. The Flashpoint universe didn't explode and die. It kept on going. And this is like if someone was keeping the Flashpoint universe going and Wonder Woman and Aquaman, instead of being at war, teamed up, and they're going after Batman now. Thomas Wayne Batman. And you have all these assassins going to kill Thomas, and he's like, I'm gonna kill him by bombing all of us. I'll kill myself. And then that's when Bruce and Barry end up in the Batcave, and then Bruce and Thomas have a very, like, really heartwarming interaction, and they actually
Do they hug it out?
Let's see.
Oh, come on. That's like his first time seeing his son in, like,
not immediately. I don't think they hug until about the end. Jeez, do they even hug?
Sad.
No
hugs?
No. The only time they actually touch is like when... I'll get to that later. It's like father, son, talking and all that stuff. And then the Amazonians and Atlanteans are attacking them. And then Thomas brings out a gun. And then Bruce throws a batarang at that gun and is like, no, we're not going to use guns. Do you have any defenses for the Batcave? And it's like, no, your mother was always the one who prepared for these kind of situations. And
his
Bruce
mother?
Yes.
But isn't his mother gone crazy already?
She's the Joker in the Flashpoint universe.
Does he ever interact with Mom?
No.
Oh, is Mom dead?
I don't know. I didn't read the Flashpoint Batman tie-ins.
Okay.
Yes, then Bruce is like, we're gonna use our fists. They beat up the Amazonians and the Atlanteans, and in the background, Barry's kind of reconstructing the Cosmic Treadmill so they can get out of there. And at one point, the universe starts to dissolve around them, and it's up to Bruce and Barry to run on the treadmill, or Barry's gonna run on the treadmill, Bruce is just gonna hold on, so they can get back to their own universe. And another thing Barry mentions is that the Flashpoint universe is not a parallel universe. It's an alternate history that should not exist anymore because Barry fixed it.
But it's still there.
It's still there. So some force in the universe is keeping it alive. Whether through hyperspace or hypertime, something is keeping it going for a while, but now they've let go, and the universe is kind of unraveling around them. And Thomas and Bruce have this final exchange where he's telling Thomas, you're a grandfather now. I have to tell you this before we leave. You have to come with me so you can come to my world and meet Damian and we can live as a family. And Thomas's words are, you can't be Batman anymore. Let Batman die with me. You should spend time with your son and love your son. Be the father that I could never be because you had died and I took up the mantle of Batman.
That's not gonna stop him from being Batman, though.
Or will it?
I really hope it doesn't.
And then you have a flashback of when Bruce had fallen into the Batcave and Thomas had saved him. Thomas whispers in his ear, whenever Waynes fall, we always rise up again. And when the universe is kind of dissolving around Thomas Wayne, it looks like he's rising back up. Like maybe he's trying to get out of this whole universe exploding in on itself. But Barry and Bruce are on the treadmill and they run out of the Flashpoint universe and they're back in the Speed Force, and then they see Reverse Flash coming. But this is Reverse Flash sometime between the fight and when he was in that blue light, and he says, I know now who has the power of the button, who possesses the power of the button.
And they never faced someone like me.
And they've never faced someone like me. But we already know that Eobard Thawne is going to be obliterated by this person.
So he doesn't see what's coming.
He doesn't see what's coming yet. And then we move on to Flash number 22. And we pick up with...
Well, the art style looks a little bit different in this one.
Oh yeah, it's different artists for each book right now.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I have to mention the writers, both Tom King and Joshua Williamson. They do pretty great work. I haven't really kept up with Tom King's Batman very often. I haven't really liked it as much as I've liked Joshua Williamson's Flash. But yeah, this is a pretty good collaboration between the two. Flash number 22. It opens up with Eobard Thawne running, and you have narration from an unknown speedster.
Oh, it's blue.
Yep, it's different narration.
Okay, yellow is Wally. Red is Barry. Blue would be Jay.
Jay Garrick. Yes, you guessed correctly. Jay Garrick is narrating this issue. Barry is trying to stop Eobard from running to his... Well, it's kind of like an inevitable fate now. Because we've already seen what happens. But Eobard Thawne is really just like, I'm going to destroy God, the person who had the button, who has been controlling us all. I'm like a living paradox. I can't be destroyed, I can't be ended, and I have no beginning either, because he's living outside of his own timeline, and he's living outside of...
So is he living within the time force? The time speed?
Speed Force?
The Speed Force.
Kind of. He's driving his power from the reverse Speed Force, which is his own creation.
Then he's not really real. And what would be the point of him, like, defeating God if it just makes the 10 years go by? I mean, come back. He still doesn't exist.
I don't really know. I think he just wants more power, and that's what he thinks he can obtain by meeting God.
Or does he just want to, like...
I don't know what his real motivations are, but at this point he's gotten really cocky, and he's saying things like, oh, I'm going to go back in time, and I'm going to adopt you, Barry, and you're going to be my own son, I'll raise you as my own. And eventually he does get to God, and he freaks out. In fear, he's just like, oh, wait, I didn't know it was you. Please, no, don't kill me. Boom. Gets evaporated.
Dang, that's a cool art right there. I like that.
Yeah, it's this exact same death he had earlier.
Yeah.
It was like a causality loop.
So, not only did he die in the present time, but he also died within the Speed Force. It just looks like that's why it looks half and half.
Kinda, maybe. I mean, it's the same... It's as if he had vanished for a few seconds, but in that few seconds he had experienced this whole running through the Speed Force and trying to meet the person. And then his body was just sent back, all obliterated like that.
But I mean, it feels like it's giving a finality to him as a character.
Yeah, this might be like...
Like, because it looks like he says himself that he's a paradox, so saying that means he can't really die in the real time, but it gives us that feeling that there's a limit to him.
Yes, and this might be
finality.
Like the person, whoever it may be, whether it's Dr. Manhattan or some other force, this might be that person trying to obliterate that paradox and get rid of this abnormality in time and space, which is Reverse Flash. He's a living paradox. And the cosmic treadmill is breaking down. And you have Barry and Batman kind of like floating in the Speed Force, trying to find a tether so they can get back to their own world. And they hear a voice. And it's Jay Garrick. He's free.
Yeah.
He's out of the Speed Force, and he's basically saving Batman and Flash. But similar to Wally's situation, Wally needed a lightning rod that he could connect to so he can be pulled back from the Speed Force.
Oh, so he doesn't have anything?
He doesn't have a lightning rod, at least the correct one. Because even though Barry and him have a connection in the pre-New 52 universe, I guess it's not a strong enough connection, and it wasn't the correct lightning rod.
Yeah, it says, or it wasn't the lightning rod that he needed.
Yeah, so Jay gets dragged back in. Not killed. It doesn't look like he's killed. It looks like he's just dragged back in, and Bruce and Barry are talking. They're talking together at the gravesite of Thomas and Martha. They're kind of reflecting on all this stuff, their crazy adventure throughout time and space, and they're wondering, should they even like keep investigating this? Like, what's going on at this bigger picture? And we zoom out from their little situation in the Earth, and then we go to Bruce. He sees the bat signal, and he's not really answering, and Alfred's asking him, are you going to go out there? And it's just another 2 panels of silence.
Sir?
Yes. And Alfred's like, are you gonna go?
And all you see is the button.
Yep, Rorschach's button, or the comedian's button that Rorschach had. It's being picked up by a blue hand, and then you have the Watchman quote that says, "Why does my perception of time distress you? Everything is preordained, even my responses. We're all puppets, Laurie. I'm just a puppet that can see the strings." And that's exactly a quote from Watchmen. It's what Dr. Manhattan says to Laurie. And it kind of, to me, this is my speculation, it's like Dr. Manhattan is being used as a tool, and there's someone bigger pulling the strings here. And then we go to the epilogue of the issue, which is the Watchman button. It's floating out in space. You zoom into the button, and then you zoom out, and it's Superman's crest. And then you have a quote that says, "There are poisons that blind you, and poisons that open your eyes." And it's kind of open-ended, and the next page is a huge 2-page promo for Doomsday Clock, written by Jeff Johns.
Well, I like this one.
Yeah.
It has a shiny.
I have a few of the cool variants.
That's interesting, though. Is that supposed to say that, like, something is, like, something bigger than, Dr. Manhattan is holding a deeper secret with, like, Superman? Well, with the New 52 Superman, right? That looks like New 52 Superman symbol. Or colors.
Well, no, because both pre-New 52 and post-New 52 Superman have fused now.
Okay.
So it's just one Superman.
So that's not Superman.
That is Superman. It's his shield. It's, some force had split Superman into two beings, and it was basically our New 52 Superman from a few years ago was all, like, his rage and his inexperienced side.
So you're trying to say that normally we're only used to there being the two sides. Is there a third side?
There might.
This
is gonna go into speculation now.
This sounds a lot like Misfits. There was a character that Rudy, he could split into two, but in times he could split into three.
Yeah.
It's something like that. Like there's always the bad side, the good side, and then the scarier side.
And there might be a scarier side. There might be a third side of Superman, or there might just be, I'm thinking, Superboy Prime.
I guess I could see that. But what if there's another character just like Superboy Prime, but is actually a Superman?
Superboy Prime did become Superman Prime. He did get aged up.
Ooh, that could, yeah. I could see that. That's pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah.
So is he gonna be like, I am God, and now I want vengeance?
Yeah.
For what happened the last time, because he got his ass beat, right?
He did. I mean, Superboy Prime has always been established as being more powerful than Superman. Mm-hmm. And now that the two Supermen have become one, they're back to their full strength. And now it's like, even stronger than that would be Superboy Prime, who could, I guess, find Dr. Manhattan and somehow control him. Mm-hmm. And there's another thing from DC mythology, which is the universe was created inside a blue hand. Mm-hmm. And if you ever saw that event, if you ever witnessed the birth of the universe, that's like a very taboo thing. And I guess Superboy Prime or some character could have known that Dr. Manhattan created the DC universe and then used Dr. Manhattan to kind of control the events and like take all the good years out of everyone's lives.
Okay.
Leaving this universe kind of in shambles. And it's like New 52 was overly dark and serious for no reason, really. Mm-hmm. And I could see like Superboy Prime using Dr. Manhattan to rip Superman into two different parts and just use all the inexperienced and like doubtful sides of him to keep that in the universe while taking all the hopeful parts of Superman and like putting them elsewhere. But then Superman being so hopeful and cheery and all that stuff would eventually reform into one Superman and like this whole big convoluted thing.
I don't know. I still can't get over the part that you keep saying that it might be a Superboy Prime, because this whole thing is like based on this point right here, the New 52, which is the version of the Superman that actually gets to have his family, right? And then there's the younger version of Superman who gets to experience being young with Wonder Woman. So I feel like if you have the one that has the more family value ones and then friend value ones, there's gotta be one that noticed all the perspectives of what's going on here, and he just wants what they had. So I feel like it would be more. I do understand that that's what Superboy Prime went through, where he wanted everything the other ones wanted, but it has to be something that those three are together. So I feel like it's more like you said, since there's two of them split apart, there has to be the third split, which is this one being isolated, the all power. Because if you notice, they're not that strong in their... I mean, they are pretty strong, but not as strong as they should be. Like, there's always points where they're not as strong in their situations.
Yeah, but now that they've fused, they're pretty strong again. And maybe there is a third Superman out there that could be the final piece, and maybe he's the Bizarro, or not Bizarro Superman, but the evil Superman out there.
Yeah, and knowing Dr. Manhattan, he always does things with a purpose.
He does things because he's already seen that he's done them.
But he does it with a purpose, doesn't he? Like, if he sees that he's already done it, there has to be like a reason why that he did those decisions.
But Dr. Manhattan has always seen himself as a puppet to his own life and his own perception of time, where it's like, I didn't do anything to stop that bullet because I've already seen this person die, so I'm not really going to go out of my way to change the events, and I'm not going to really be a hero. I'm just a bystander. And I feel like by the end of this, Dr. Manhattan's just going to be
I can see that being the God perspective.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a god complex. He's just got like a detached from reality kind of thing. Or maybe he's super attached to reality and it's like, I can't do anything to change it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure by the end of this, Jeff Johns is going to be like, Dr. Manhattan, he's the ultimate reset button, and I can use him to do whatever I want by the end of this event.
I can see that.
Maybe the whole lesson for Dr. Manhattan is to get involved and to stop whoever is the real mastermind behind all this, whether it's Ozymandias or Superboy Prime or Rorschach or whoever.
Yeah. I don't know. We need more.
We do need more.
Our questions.
I mean, we're only like in the first year of Rebirth, and I'm sure this is going to go on, or try to go on, for like another year or two.
I don't know. It's just too much.
Yeah, you're getting your mind blown right now. Well, you haven't been like keeping up with it, so it's a lot to explain for like someone who's only read like DC Universe #1 and then Flashpoint. But then it's an easy read if you've just read those two. This could, like, you could ignore a lot of the other Rebirth stuff, which is almost kind of like supplementary, but really necessary at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you want to move on to Secret Empire #2?
For Marvel, right?
Yes, Marvel's Secret Empire. Written by Nick Spencer and art by Andrea Sorrentino.
So not me.
Not you. And it's funny how this is #2, but it's like the 4th issue that you're supposed to read.
Is that Daredevil?
Yes, that's Daredevil on the cover.
And Doctor Strange.
Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist. Yeah, and apparently the reading order for Secret Empire is like issue 0, the Free Comic Book Day issue, and then issue 1. Just to bring up to speed with this, Steve Rogers, his history has been rewritten by Kubrick. So he now thinks that he's always been a Hydra agent, and his history's been changed, so his memories have been changed.
Mm-hmm.
And slowly the universe has changed around his memories, but kind of not really. It's like a long, convoluted story now. It started out as a simple hero goes bad story, and it's kind of, due to some people's opinions and political views, it's changed into something kind of more convoluted and messed up than it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have issue 2, which picks up with the destruction of Las Vegas. At the end of the previous issue, Steve Rogers' cohorts in Hydra bombed Las Vegas, which was kind of like where the rebel underground hideout was at.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the champions and a few other heroes trying to save a bunch of citizens. And then you jump forward to New York City, which has been taken to the Dark Dimension. Like, Doctor Strange was trying to do some magic stuff, didn't go so well. The Dark Dimension has swallowed the island of Manhattan, and you have all the street level heroes just trying to make ends meet and trying to save as many people as they can. Since it's the Dark Dimension, it's like all darkness all the time. Dagger, she's lighting up New York for as long as she can. She's using her powers to light up New York, and before she could do it for like 12 hours straight, continuous light. Now it's getting less and less, and she's lucky if she get like 4 hours of light. So the heroes are having a hard time saving everyone and keeping the peace in the city because there's all these demons and monsters that are attacking all the civilians. Kingpin is actually he's being scummy, but he's being a really great guy because he's going out to all these churches and all these little places where people have gathered for safety, and he's stopping all like these bandits and marauders from like robbing them. And he's like, remember who helped you when the heroes couldn't. Remember the man who did the things that they couldn't. Wilson Fisk. When we get back to like Earth, remember I did you this favor. So he's kind of planting the seeds where a lot of neighborhoods and people in New York owe him a favor, or at least would want to side with him because the heroes really couldn't step up to the plate and do what was needed to be done.
But that's also how he gets more power.
That's how he gets more power. He's the kingpin. He's all about that power. And then you jump back to Las Vegas with the champions, Black Widow and Hawkeye, and their little resistance group. And AI Tony Stark has finally looked at the info that Rick Jones had sent them, and he finds out about Cubic and that there might be a chance to bring Steve Rogers back to the good side. If you get all the fragments of the cosmic cube that Cubic was made out of, maybe we can turn him back. Maybe there's hope. And Black Widow's like, no, there's no hope. Like, we've already tried to like find out if he was LMD, if he was a Skrull. Every mission that we go on just leads to casualties. There's no saving Steve Rogers. We have to kill him now. And Hawkeye's kind of supporting Tony, being like, no, we're going on this mission. We're doing this. We have to save Steve, because Hawkeye is secretly, well, not really secretly, but he's always had this thing where he admires Steve Rogers, and he doesn't want to believe that Steve is straight up a bad guy. A lot like a lot of fans, we don't really want to believe that he's a bad guy, and he can be changed, and he can be changed back for good. But then Black Widow knocks out Hawkeye and goes on her own mission, and the champions...
Aren't they dating in this?
They are dating, yeah.
That's a little...
Yeah. It's kind of... I don't know. Do you approve of their relationship?
I mean, it's okay. I haven't seen any of their books, like in the comics that they're in, or how their relationship is. Because all in my head, I can think of the Ultimates, and I'm like, he killed his wife and kids.
Yeah, she killed his wife and kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have Captain America kind of really questioning what kind of Hydra leader he wants to be. Like, you can tell he's still got those morals, and then Hydra does all this shady stuff that he really doesn't approve of. And everyone around him, like his officials, are like, no, we'll do the dirty work for you. All you have to do is be the leader that America needs you to be. And it's like, oh god, Steve's really having a hard time being a Hydra agent, even though not really, I guess.
So he wants to do the dirty work?
He doesn't. It looks like he really doesn't, but you never know. Like, it's...
So what is he doing then?
He's basically...
So is he just a public figure?
He's a public figure, and he's trying to be like... He's really good at giving out these speeches, and he's really good at leading. Like, he's a born leader. He's Steve Rogers still, but his history's been rewritten, and it's just kind of like a mess, because he's back and forth on whether or not he's good or bad, and whether or not he believes in the mission of Hydra.
I kind of hope that it does become like that Ulysses thing, where it said that Spider-Man was gonna kill him.
Actually, that's the thing. The champions follow... Miles is the one who follows Black Widow, and then the champions follow Miles. And Miles is like...
Why are they following Miles? Did he become the leader in the champions?
No, he's just one of them. And they're like, we're not going to leave a champion behind. And,
what the hell?
And Miles tells Black Widow, like, I know you're not going to kill Steve Rogers because I'm supposed to do it. I had the vision. We all had the vision. And it was me. And it's like, you don't have the guts, kid. What are you talking about?
I can see it. I mean, if all the champions are going, let's say something happens to one of the champions, and I feel like all Spider-Men or women are all overruled by emotions.
Yeah, that's a big thing. They have a lot of responsibility and a lot of power,
Oh, yeah.
and they don't know how to deal with that responsibility. Well, some of them don't.
Well, I mean, because most of them, like, when they become Spider-Man or Spider-Girl or Spider-Woman, they all start off at a young point when they're actually making more friends. And then that's when the relationships get intense, or like situations get intense. And if somebody dies, all hell breaks loose in the spider world.
Yeah, all these spider people really need to get their emotions in check before they go out there. And then the issue kind of ends with, I think it's Scott Lang Ant-Man, AI Tony Stark, who is really just a hologram, and Hawkeye. And they go to a contact who's going to help them get out of the US because the borders are really secure now after Steve took control. And they go to Sam Wilson, who was previously Captain America, and before that was Falcon, an ally of Steve Rogers. And he's like, oh crap, I have to help you guys out now. And that's how that little story ends. But then we have a little 3-page story going on with a woman being attacked by Serpent Society members, and then someone beats those Serpent Society guys up, and he says, my name is Steve Rogers, and I'm just trying to get home.
Wait, so there's another Steve Rogers?
There are now 2 Steve Rogers, and I don't know where this story's going anymore. Like, at first I assumed they could just change Steve back and he could redeem himself and everything would be all fine and dandy. But now I think if they wanted to, and if Nick Spencer is really going to go for this, he'll just be like, okay, let me backtrack a bit. In the 90s, there was a story where Iron Man, Tony Stark, went bad. He went crazy and turned against the Avengers. And the Avengers, in response, went back in time and got a teenage Tony Stark. And through circumstance, that teenage Tony Stark lived and the old one died. And if Marvel wanted to, because it seems like they really don't give a crap anymore, they could just kill Hydra Cap and have this new Cap in his place. And it could be like a World War II Cap that didn't take the super soldier serum, or this is like right after he took it. But either way, it'd be like a good Captain America. Or if they could do like a weird thing where it's like, this Steve Rogers goes full on Hydra bad guy and becomes his own character. And then this Steve Rogers is like the Captain America we all know and love, but with none of the experiences.
What if it becomes just like how I did in DC with Speedy, Red Arrow?
Oh, jeez. I don't know. Like, I'm interested to see where the story goes, but then I know if there isn't a logical conclusion, everyone's gonna freak out, flip out, and it's gonna be one of those things that Marvel's just gonna want you to forget about.
I mean, I like it. I like where it's going. You probably don't, but I like it.
Yeah, you like it just because it's like, you know, story and action and things are happening and characters are...
I mean, I like any situation where there's a whole bunch of characters just intertwined in that story. Like, unexpected situations are happening, and I want to see how they deal with that. Yeah.
You probably still like event comics because you haven't been reading every single Marvel event that's come out every single year.
No.
And I'm kind of tired of it a little bit. But Secret Empire...
You're still buying them and reading them.
I'm still buying them because I'm addicted.
A nerd.
Yeah. But anyway, that was both a recap of The Button, parts 1 through 4, and Secret Empire number 2. How'd you think of it?
I don't know. DC confuses me, but I feel like I understand a little bit more of Secret Empire, where it's going.
Yeah, Secret Empire, it's convoluted, but it's not as convoluted as trying to retcon an entire universe. But at the same time, this is retconning an entire universe.
Yeah, I just feel like I know I'm gonna get a lot of answers from Secret Empire that are gonna just follow up if I keep reading the comics. But with DC, no matter how many comics you get through until the last one, you're always, but what if it's this? What if it's that? What is going on here? Who is this? Who is that gonna be? Oh my goodness, who else is gonna show up? Like in DC, you're always like on the edge of your seat. Like you don't know what's gonna happen, who's gonna show up, and by the end of reading one issue, you're probably gonna have a million more questions and you're just gonna want to pull off your hair until the final issue. You're gonna be like, well shit, I still have a lot of questions. And that's my problem with DC, is like you still have a whole lot of questions, and sometimes they end it just like that and there's not any answers to it.
See, I kind of like DC Rebirth because it's like there are plenty of questions, but the storytelling is so good for most of the stories are really good. I'm not reading every single title because there's just no way I could, but like Superman, Action Comics, Detective Comics, Flash, Green Lanterns, their stories are so good, and the mystery is kind of like in the background, so I'm not too concerned about answers right now. I just want good stories right now. Meanwhile, at Marvel, there are not many good stories. It's like, Secret Empire is like the only story that you could read from the 616 Marvel that's any good right now, and everything else is really garbage. But you don't pick up much Marvel, so yeah, you don't have like that stigma around it right now, where it's like everything feels like a bad title, and DC, everything feels like a good title. For you, DC's like...
No matter in DC or Marvel, I always stick with the B characters.
Oh yeah, you do stick with the characters who are like...
Who are not that important to the the main titles. Universe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there are some situations that affect them because some of them have connections to the main characters, but I don't really like big main characters because they're always so hypocritical at points, and I don't like the changes. Like at one point they could be standing for everybody's right, and at the next point they're actually the enemy.
Like Secret Empire.
Like Secret Empire.
And meanwhile, you're into characters who are just like, I'm here to have fun and kick ass.
Yeah.
And I'm all out of fun.
So I'm here to kick ass.
Yep.
So I guess that's why I let you read them and tell me about it.
Yeah. I mean, I read the bigger titles, and you just read the small, almost like indie characters.
Yeah.
Yep, but I think it's going to do it for this episode.
Yeah.
Yep. For any new listeners, if you like this at all, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to be alerted whenever we upload new content. You can also leave a like and comment down below. And check us out next week if you want to hear about any of the new comics of next week. Or will we do one next week?
I don't know.
We'll probably do one next week. Alright, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Peace.